I never thought I'd find evidence of my sister's betrayal while cleaning out Dad's study. But there it was, tucked between old tax returns and forgotten birthday cards. A letter that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. My name is Avery, and until last Sunday, I was just another landscape architect trying to launch her own business. Now I'm someone who has to decide what to do about a sister who's actively trying to destroy everything I've worked for. The letter was in Mia's familiar loopy handwriting, dated just 3 weeks ago. I know you're worried about me, Dad, it read. But I promise this will work. Avery's too trusting. She won't see it coming. Once her business falls apart, she'll finally understand what it feels like to fail at something. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down in Dad's old leather chair. The musty smell of his cigar still lingered, even though he'd quit smoking months ago. Outside his study window, I could see Mom preparing for Dad's birthday dinner, arranging flowers in the garden like everything was normal, like my sister wasn't plotting to ruin me. My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. Hey sis. Mia's voice was honey-sweet. You're coming to Dad's birthday dinner tonight, right? Ethan said you might be working late. I gripped the letter tighter, my wedding ring catching the afternoon light. No, I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it. Great. I have some exciting news to share with everyone. Of course she did. Mia always had exciting news at family gatherings. It was her way of making sure all eyes were on her. Can't wait to hear it. I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. Hey, have you talked to Dad recently about business stuff? There was the slightest pause. Not really. You know how Dad is, all work and no play. Why? Just curious. See you tonight. I hung up before she could ask more questions. My husband Ethan's name in her message bothered me. They'd been talking about my work schedule. Jamie, my best friend since college, called while I was still sitting in Dad's study. You okay? She asked. You sound off. I found something concerning. Can you meet for coffee tomorrow? I need your perspective on this. Of course. Is it about the business launch? I looked down at the letter again. Sort of. It's about Mia. And possibly Ethan. Oh boy, Jamie sighed. What's your sister done now? I'm not sure yet. But I need to get through Dad's birthday dinner first. Everyone will be there, acting like one big happy family. Want me to create an emergency and call you out of it? I almost said yes, but running away wouldn't solve anything. No, I need to see how they act, especially Mia and Ethan. Something's not right. After hanging up, I carefully refolded the letter and slipped it into my purse. Through the window, I could see cars starting to arrive. Mia's red sports car pulled up first, always early when she had exciting news to share. I watched her step out, all designer clothes and perfect hair, air-kissing Mom in the garden. She was already commanding attention, gesturing animatedly about something while Mom nodded along, completely enchanted. Just like always, Ethan's car pulled in next. He got out and immediately went to hug Mia, their greeting looking a little too familiar for my comfort. They shared a quick look before separating, the kind of look that made my stomach turn. I stood up, straightening my clothes and taking a deep breath. Time to go downstairs and play my part in this family charade. But this time I'd be watching. Really watching. Because now I knew, the sister who'd always claimed to be my biggest supporter was actually plotting my downfall. And somehow my husband was involved. The question was, how far would they go? And more importantly, what was I going to do about it? Dad's birthday dinner was a masterclass in fake smiles and hidden daggers. I kept the letter burning a hole in my purse while Mia commanded center stage, announcing her exciting news. She was starting her own event planning business. And guess who's already signed up as my first major client? Mia beamed, reaching for her wine glass. The Hendersons. You know, the family who owns that gorgeous estate where Avery's doing the landscaping. My fork clattered against my plate. The Hendersons were my biggest potential clients, the ones who could make or break my new business. I hadn't even finished presenting my final design proposal to them yet. That's wonderful, I managed, feeling Ethan's hand squeeze my knee under the table. Was it meant to be reassuring or warning? Oh honey, Mom gushed. 2 successful daughters in complementary businesses. You girls could work together. Mia's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Actually, I already suggested that to the Hendersons. They're thinking of going in a different direction with their landscaping. Something more modern. Dad looked up from his plate. Avery's designs are plenty modern. Of course they are. Mia backpedaled smoothly. I just meant they're considering all their options. You understand, right, sis? It's just business. Just business. Like the letter in my purse was just paper. Speaking of business, I said, watching her carefully, I was organizing Dad's study earlier and found some interesting correspondence. Mia's smile flickered for just a second. Oh, anything about me? Actually, I started, but Ethan suddenly stood up, drawing everyone's attention. Before we get into business talk, I'd like to propose a toast to George, he announced, raising his glass. To the man who welcomed me into this amazing family. I watched Mia during his speech. She was staring at her plate, her fingers nervously shredding her napkin. When she looked up, our eyes met, and for a moment, I saw something I hadn't expected: fear. After dinner, I cornered her in the kitchen while she was helping with dishes by reorganizing Mom's wine glasses. The Hendersons were my clients first, I said quietly. Were they? I don't see any contracts. She arranged the glasses with precise movements. Maybe if you spent less time organizing Dad's study and more time closing deals. I found your letter, Mia. The wine glass in her hand trembled slightly. What letter? The one where you told Dad how you're planning to destroy my business. Want me to read it to everyone? She set the glass down carefully. You always do this, Avery. Turn everything into some kind of competition. I'm finally doing something successful with my life, and you can't stand it. That's not. Mom, Mia called out, her voice cracking. Avery's threatening me because I got a client she wanted. Mom rushed in, finding Mia with tears in her eyes. Perfect, glistening tears that hadn't smudged her mascara. Avery Thompson, Mom scolded. I raised you better than this. Your sister is trying to build something of her own. Why can't you support her? But she... I stopped, realizing how it would sound. I'm the responsible one, the steady one. Mia's the free spirit everyone needs to protect and encourage. Nothing had changed since we were kids. I think you should apologize to your sister, Mom said firmly. Over Mom's shoulder, Mia's tears vanished, replaced by a small, triumphant smile. You're right, I said, my voice steady. I'm sorry, Mia. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions about that letter. Mia's smile faltered. What letter? The one I'll be showing Dad tomorrow. Sleep well, sis. I left them in the kitchen, passing Ethan in the hallway. He reached for my arm, but I pulled away. We need to talk, he said quietly. Yes, we do. I met his eyes. About why you've been discussing my work schedule with my sister. He opened his mouth to respond, but Dad called him into the living room. As he walked away, I saw him pull out his phone and type something quickly. In my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Mia. Don't make this worse than it needs to be. I started the engine, my hand steady on the wheel. Tomorrow I'd meet Jamie for coffee and figure out exactly how deep this betrayal went. But tonight I had some research to do about the Hendersons, and about my husband's recent phone records. Jamie set her coffee cup down with enough force to make the table rattle. You're not going to believe what I found about your sister. We were sitting in our usual corner of the bean house, away from the morning rush. I'd barely slept, spending most of the night digging through Ethan's phone records while he slept soundly beside me, completely unaware. Hit me, I said, bracing myself. Mia's broke. Like seriously broke. She's got credit card debt in the six figures, and there's a collection agency after her for an unpaid business loan from last year. My stomach dropped. What business loan? For her fashion consulting venture that lasted all of 3 months. Jamie pulled out her tablet, showing me the documents. But here's the kicker, guess who co-signed that loan? Please don't say. Ethan. Your husband co-signed a $100,000 loan for your sister 6 months ago. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. 6 months ago, when Ethan had insisted we delay buying the commercial property I wanted for my landscape design business, claiming the market wasn't right. My phone buzzed, Mrs. Henderson's name flashing on the screen. I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. Avery, dear, she said, her tone apologetic. I wanted to speak with you directly about the garden redesign. Of course. I'm finalizing the proposals now. That's just it. Your sister showed us some remarkable concepts yesterday. She suggested integrating the garden design with her event planning services, offering us a complete package deal. My free hand clenched around my coffee cup. Mrs. Henderson, I should mention that Mia has no experience in landscape architecture. Oh, she mentioned that. But she's bringing in someone from Carson and Reed Landscaping as her partner. They're very well established. Carson and Reed, my former employers. The same company where Ethan still consulted part-time. After the call ended, Jamie reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Avery, breathe. They're working together, I said, the pieces finally clicking. Ethan's been feeding Mia information about my clients, my designs, everything. That's why he insisted on handling all our business contacts. There's more, Jamie said quietly. I found some interesting deposits in Mia's bank records. Regular payments from a shell company. Guess who owns it? Before she could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Ethan. Where are you? We need to talk about the Henderson project. Another message followed immediately, this one from Mia. Got a minute? I have a business proposition for you. They're panicking, Jamie observed. You've got them worried. I stood up, gathering my things. I need to go to the office. The Henderson designs are on my work computer, and I need to secure them before your husband can access them? Jamie finished. I'll drive. You're shaking too much. We arrived at my small office suite 15 minutes later, but something was wrong. The door was already unlocked. Inside, Mia sat at my desk, her perfectly manicured fingers flying over my keyboard. She looked up, startled, but quickly recovered with a practiced smile. Oh good, you're here. I was just leaving you a note. She stood smoothly, but I saw her slip a USB drive into her pocket. Step away from my computer, Mia. Don't be dramatic. I'm trying to help you. She moved toward the door, but Jamie blocked her path. The Hendersons were never going to choose your designs anyway. Safe. Like you. Is that what you tell yourself to justify stealing from me? Stealing. She laughed, but there was an edge to it. I'm surviving. Something you've never had to worry about. Perfect Avery with her perfect plans. And the $100,000 Ethan helped you borrow? Was that survival too? Her face paled slightly. He told you. No, he didn't. Just like he didn't tell me he's been helping you poach my clients. Tell me, Mia, what do you have on my husband? She reached for the door handle but turned back with a smile that chilled me. Why don't you ask him about last year's company retreat? I'm sure he'd love to explain everything. After she left, Jamie and I discovered she'd already emailed herself copies of all my design files. But as I stared at the computer screen, I realized something worse. She'd accessed my client list, my vendor contracts, everything. What now? Jamie asked. I opened my phone and dialed my father's number. Now we find out what really happened at that company retreat. Dad met me at his favorite diner, the one where he'd taught me and Mia to count change using the sugar packets. It felt different now. Sitting across from him with a manila folder full of bank statements and phone records between us. The company retreat, he said, stirring his coffee. I remember because Ethan came back early. Said there was some kind of emergency. Did Mia happen to be there? His hand stilled on the spoon. She wasn't supposed to be. It was employees only. But I heard from Bill Carson that she showed up uninvited. Created quite a scene at the hotel bar. He looked up at me. You think something happened between them? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Jamie. Found security footage from your office. You need to see this now. I have to go, I told Dad, gathering my things. But first, did you know about the loan? The one Ethan co-signed for Mia. Dad's face darkened. He did what? That's what I thought. I stood up then paused. Dad? When you found Mia's letter about ruining my business, why didn't you tell me? What letter? The diner's fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright. The letter in your study. The one where she outlined her whole plan. Avery, I never saw any letter. My hand started shaking. But it was in your desk drawer. I found it while cleaning. The drawer that's always locked? He shook his head. The one only Ethan has access to because he handles the company's old files? The world tilted sideways. I barely made it to Jamie's office, where she was waiting with her laptop. Watch this, she said, pulling up the security footage from my office building. Look at the timestamp, 3 days before Mia showed up at your computer. The grainy video showed Ethan entering my office late at night, using his key. He spent 20 minutes at my computer before leaving with what looked like a stack of files. There's more, Jamie said quietly. Remember that shell company making payments to Mia? It's registered to a property in the Cayman Islands. Guess who flew there last month? Ethan had a business trip. With Mia. I found their flight records. She hesitated. And hotel reservation. Single room. My wedding ring felt like it was burning my finger. The company retreat last year. That's when it started, wasn't it? Probably. But Avery, we need to talk about the money. Those payments to Mia? They're coming from your business account. My phone buzzed. Ethan again. Where are you? We need to talk about what Mia told you. It's not what you think. Another message followed immediately from Mia. He's freaking out. Maybe we should discuss terms. I turned off my phone. Jamie, I need your help with something. Anything. I need to access Ethan's cloud storage. The one where he keeps all the business documents. She raised an eyebrow. The one he specifically told you never to worry about, because he had everything under control? That's the one. It took Jamie less than an hour to crack it. What we found made me glad I was sitting down. He's been planning this for months, Jamie said, scrolling through documents. Using your designs to secure contracts, then having them transferred to Carson and Reed through Mia's event planning business. The Hendersons aren't the first, they're just the biggest score yet. I stared at the screen, at the careful paper trail of my husband systematically dismantling everything I'd built. All this time, I thought Mia was the mastermind. She's definitely involved, but Ethan. Jamie trailed off, opening another file. Oh God. What? Look at the date on this incorporation document for the shell company. It's from 2 weeks before your wedding. My phone started buzzing again, Mom this time. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing what she'd say. How I needed to work things out with my sister, how family was everything, how I was being too suspicious. Jamie, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I need you to help me with one more thing. What are you thinking? I pulled out my own USB drive. I'm thinking it's time to show my sister exactly what it feels like when someone takes everything you've worked for. The plan forming in my mind wasn't pretty, but then again, neither was betrayal. I didn't expect Mia to show up at my house at midnight. Mascara streaked down her face and hands trembling as she clutched her designer purse. Ethan was staying at a hotel, my choice, not his, so I was alone when I opened the door. I can explain everything, she said. Like the Cayman Islands trip with my husband? I stepped aside to let her in, noting how she scanned the room, probably looking for Ethan. That's not. I mean, it's complicated. She sank onto the couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Ethan said he'd help me with my debts if I helped him with some business deals. I didn't know at first that he was planning to steal my clients? Or just my designs? Both. She wiped her eyes, smearing expensive makeup across her cheek. But Avery, he's got something on me. From the company retreat. I can't. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. My phone buzzed. Jamie sending me updates about the financial records we'd found. I ignored it, watching my sister's performance. 'Cause that's what this was, wasn't it? Another act in the Mia show? What happened at the retreat, Mia? She shook her head. I can't. He'll release the video if I tell anyone. What video? Before she could answer, both our phones chimed simultaneously. A text from Ethan. Meeting tomorrow 9 a.m. Carson and Reed offices. All parties present or the deals go public. Mia's face went pale. You can't go. You don't understand what he's capable of. I think I do. The shell company, the stolen designs, the embezzled money, all of it started before my wedding. He played us both, didn't he? She looked up sharply. What do you mean? The letter I found? The one outlining your plan to ruin my business? Ethan planted it. He needed me to suspect you first, to keep me from looking too closely at what he was doing. Oh God, she whispered. The hotel video doesn't exist, does it? Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, but these looked real. He said if I didn't help him, he'd tell everyone about the money I embezzled from Carson and Reed last year. But I never took that money. I just found out he set it up to look like I did. My phone buzzed again. Jamie had found something else. I checked the message and felt my breath catch. Mia, I said carefully. When exactly did Ethan tell you he'd release the video? Right after the retreat. Why? I showed her my phone. Screenshots Jamie had recovered from Ethan's cloud storage. Documents showing he'd been siphoning money from Carson and Reed for years, carefully structuring it to look like multiple employees were responsible, including Mia. He's been setting this up since before he met me, I said, using both of us against each other while he stripped everything bare. Mia's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. The Hendersons' contract. He made me think I was helping him save your business, that you were the one stealing designs. I'm so stupid. We both were. I took the phone back, scrolling through more documents. But tomorrow at 9 we have a chance to fix that. How? He's got everything documented to frame us both. I smiled, thinking about the USB drive Jamie and I had prepared. Not everything. Remember when we were kids, and you used to create elaborate stories to get us out of trouble? You mean when I'd confess to something bigger to distract Mom and Dad from what we actually did? A spark of the old Mia showed through her tears. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time for the Thompson sisters to give one hell of a performance. I pulled out my laptop. But first, we need to talk about exactly what happened at that company retreat, and why Ethan really came home early. Mia's smile turned sharp, matching mine. Where should I start? Start with the real reason you showed up at the hotel bar that night. And Mia. I met her eyes. This time, no lies between us. She nodded, straightening her shoulders. It all started when I overheard Ethan on the phone, talking about a merger that would put you out of business. The Carson and Reed conference room felt like a trap the moment I walked in. Ethan sat at the head of the table, looking perfectly composed in his expensive suit. Bill Carson stood by the window, frowning at documents spread across his desk. Mia was already there, wearing the same clothes from last night, her usual polish cracking around the edges. Glad you could join us, Ethan said, sliding a folder toward me. These are the new terms. I didn't touch it. Terms for what? Your graceful exit from the industry. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Unless you prefer we discuss your sister's creative accounting, or your own theft of proprietary designs? My designs, I corrected. Not according to these documents. He tapped the folder. Signed and dated before you ever started your business. Everything you've created belongs to Carson and Reed. Bill Carson cleared his throat. Ethan has shown me conclusive evidence that he's been stealing from your company for years. I pulled out my USB drive. Or that he's been setting up elaborate schemes to frame others for it. Ethan's smile didn't waver, but his knuckles whitened around his pen. Careful, Avery. Remember what's at stake. You mean like the video from the company retreat? Mia's voice shook slightly. The one that doesn't exist? Are you sure about that? Ethan reached for his phone. Should we play it for everyone? Go ahead, I said. Show us all how you set my sister up that night. How you plan to use her as your scapegoat while you strip the company bare. His finger hovered over the phone. Bill, I think we should call security. Actually, Jamie's voice came from the doorway. I think we should wait for the police. They're very interested in those offshore accounts you've been using. Ethan stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. This is ridiculous. Bill, these women are trying to. To what? I opened my laptop, turning it to face the room. Show how you've been embezzling money since before you met me? Or how you manufactured evidence to frame Mia when she caught on to your scheme. It's all lies, he snarled, but his composure was cracking. You have no proof. Actually, Bill Carson said quietly, we do. He pulled out another set of documents, ones I recognized from Jamie's late-night digging. The board has been investigating discrepancies for months. We just needed to know who to watch. Ethan's face went blank. He looked at each of us, me, Mia, Jamie, Bill Carson, then suddenly lunged for my laptop. If I'm going down, he growled, I'm taking everyone with me. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Mia screaming as Ethan grabbed the laptop. Jamie rushing forward. The sound of breaking glass as the laptop went through the 10th floor window. Ethan's triumphant laugh. Good luck proving anything now, he said. I felt oddly calm as I pulled out my phone. You mean like these copies Jamie sent to every board member an hour ago? Or the ones Dad's lawyer is reviewing right now? His face contorted. You're bluffing. Like you bluffed about having video of Mia? Or about owning my designs? I stood up, fighting to keep my voice steady. The thing about growing up with a sister who lies constantly, you learn to keep receipts. You stupid bitch, he spat, and suddenly he was coming toward me, hands outstretched. Several things happened at once. Security burst through the door. Mia stepped between us, her designer purse swinging like a weapon. Jamie shouted something about cameras rolling. And I stood there, watching my husband being wrestled to the ground, realizing that my entire marriage had been a carefully orchestrated lie. Avery. Mia touched my arm gently. Are you okay? I wasn't. Nothing about this was okay. My business was in shambles, my marriage was a fraud, and my family's reputation was about to become tabloid fodder. But as I watched Ethan being led away in handcuffs, still shouting threats, I felt something unexpected: relief. No, I said honestly. I'm not okay. But I will be. Mia squeezed my hand, and for the first time in years, it felt like we were really sisters again. The Hendersons called, Jamie said softly. They want to meet with you tomorrow. Just you. I nodded, watching Bill Carson gather evidence for the police. My world had imploded, but somehow, standing in the wreckage, I felt stronger than ever. Now I just had to figure out how to rebuild from the ashes. The police interview room felt colder than it should in August. Ethan sat across from me, still wearing his expensive suit, though now it looked rumpled after a night in holding. This wasn't how I'd imagined spending my first day as a divorced woman. 5 minutes, the detective said, closing the door behind him. Ethan leaned forward, his charm switched on like a light. Avery, we can still fix this. The board doesn't have to press charges. We could start over. I placed a folder on the table. Like you started over with those other companies before Carson and Reed? His smile faltered. What are you talking about? Jamie's good at digging, Ethan. Really good. 3 companies in 5 years, each one with mysterious financial troubles right after you left. Each time someone else took the fall. You can't prove any of that. Actually, we can. Your old victims are very interested in testifying. I slid the folder toward him. But that's not why I'm here. He opened the folder, his face darkening as he read. Where did you get these? From Mia's hotel room at the company retreat. The real reason she was there that night, she was gathering evidence. She saw what you were doing months before I did. She was trying to blackmail me, he snapped. No, she was trying to protect me. But you turned it around, made her think you had something on her. Classic Ethan Collins playbook, right? Always have leverage. His handcuffs clinked against the table as he pushed the folder away. What do you want? I want to understand something. Was any of it real? Our marriage, our plans, any of it? For a moment his mask slipped, showing something almost like regret. The garden designs were brilliant. I didn't lie about that. Just about everything else. Business is business, Avery. Nothing personal. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. That's where you're wrong. It was always personal. That's why you'll never understand why you failed. Failed? He laughed harshly. I had everything perfect until your sister grew a conscience. No, you had everything perfect until you underestimated what sisters are capable of. I reached for the door. By the way, the Hendersons loved my new designs. The ones you never saw, because I kept them at Jamie's house. You're making a mistake, he called as I opened the door. I still have friends who can. Who can what? End up in here with you. Mia's voice came from the hallway. She stepped into view, holding up her phone. Everything you just said is recorded, by the way. Want to threaten us again? Ethan's face contorted with rage. You little. That's enough, the detective interrupted, moving between us. As we walked away, Mia grabbed my hand. Are you okay? Getting there. I squeezed her hand back. Thank you for trying to warn me, even when I didn't want to listen. Thank you for believing me when it mattered. She stopped, turning to face me. Avery, about everything else, the competition, the jealousy, making Mom and Dad always take my side. We don't have to do this now. Yes, we do. Her eyes filled with tears. I was so busy being jealous of your success that I almost let him destroy you. I need you to know. I know, I said softly. And we'll figure it out. One day at a time. Outside the police station, Jamie was waiting with coffee and a stack of new client contracts. Ready to get back to work? I looked at the contracts, then at my sister. Actually, I was thinking about a partnership. Someone to handle the event planning side of the business, work with clients directly. Mia's eyes widened. Are you serious? On one condition, no more lies. About anything. She nodded solemnly, then broke into a real smile. Not her usual practice charm, but something genuine. Deal. As we walked to the car, I felt lighter than I had in months. Ethan had tried to tear us apart, but instead he'd given us something we'd lost years ago. The chance to be sisters again. So, Jamie said, scrolling through her phone, who wants to help me delete Ethan from all the wedding photos? Mia and I looked at each other and started laughing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward, stronger than before. 6 months after Ethan's conviction, I stood in the Hendersons' completed garden, watching guests marvel at the integration of landscape and event space. Mia fluttered between groups, handling the grand opening with her usual charm, but something was different now. Her smile reached her eyes. It's beautiful, Mom said, appearing beside me. Both the garden and your sister's work. I nodded, noting how the evening light caught the water features we designed together. She's good at what she does. Always was. I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening. Mom touched my arm. With Ethan, with everything. I was so busy trying to protect Mia that I missed who really needed protection. We all missed it, Mom. That was his specialty. Across the garden, Jamie was showing Dad something on her tablet. Probably the latest financials. Our business had grown faster than expected, partly thanks to the publicity from Ethan's trial, partly because Mia and I made a surprisingly good team. Mrs. Collins? A server approached with a letter. This was left for you at the entrance. It's Thompson now. I corrected automatically, taking the envelope. I recognized Ethan's handwriting immediately. Want me to throw it away? Mia asked, materializing at my side. I considered it, then shook my head. No. I need to know. The letter was short. I underestimated you both. The garden in the prison yard is dead. But I think about your designs every day. Some things are beautiful even when they're dangerous. Trying to get the last word. Mia scoffed, reading over my shoulder. Classic Ethan. It doesn't matter anymore. I folded the letter and handed it to Jamie, who joined us. Add it to the file? She tucked it away with a nod. We kept everything now, every document, every message. Not out of fear or revenge, but because we'd learned the hard way that truth needs protection. Speaking of files, Mia said hesitantly, there's something I need to show you. She led me to a quiet corner of the garden, pulling out her phone. Remember how we couldn't figure out where Ethan got his initial capital? Jamie found this yesterday. The document on her screen showed a familiar name, our grandmother's trust fund, which had mysteriously dried up years ago. The fund I'd been too busy to investigate when Mia was named sole beneficiary. He helped me steal it, Mia whispered. Before he even met you. I didn't understand what he was doing then, but it was always your money too. I stared at the screen, feeling the weight of years of resentment and competition shifting into something else. Keep it, I said finally. Avery, no. We need to make this right. We are making it right. I gestured at the garden around us. Every project, every client, every time we choose honesty over easy answers. That's how we make it right. She hugged me suddenly, fiercely. When did you get so wise? Probably around the time you got so honest. Later, as the party wound down, I found myself back in the center of the garden. The night-blooming flowers were opening, their fragrance mixing with the sound of falling water. Ready to go? Jamie asked, car keys in hand. Almost. I looked around at what we'd built, not just the garden but everything else. The business, the rebuilt relationships, the trust that grew back slowly, like plants after a hard winter. You know, Mia said, joining us, we got another offer today. That big resort on the coast. I saw the email. And I smiled, remembering the letter in Dad's study that had started everything. How easily suspicion had bloomed, how quickly trust had withered. And I think we should look at it together. All of us. Jamie raised her eyebrows. Even after everything? Especially after everything. I touched one of the night-blooming flowers, watching it unfold. Some things grow better in the dark, but they still need light to survive. We walked out together, leaving the garden to its evening transformation. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new projects, new chances to choose trust over fear. But tonight, in this garden we'd built from the ashes of betrayal, everything was blooming exactly as it should.